My name is Bradley Zero. I am a DJ, broadcaster, and venue owner, and we're here in my bar in Peckham, Jumbi. Notting Hill Carnival, to me, it's we call it Black Christmas, and it's for me just this beautiful coming together and celebration of joy that is just quintessentially Black British, and yeah, it's a wonderful weekend. Right, so I opened Jumbi in 2022 with my partner Nathaniel, and we came together to do something new in Peckham, and we wanted to kind of honour our Caribbean roots. My family's from Dominica, his family's from St. Kitts, and we wanted to create something contemporary that also sort of references back to our culture, but at the same time kind of shakes things up a bit. And the word Jumbi itself is sort of part of that. It's a Dominican Creole word that is essentially a kind of spirit, a kind of poltergeist figure. And it comes from the same root of the word that is zombie in Haitian Creole, or duppy in Jamaican. And it's a sort of playful, cheeky, archetypal trickster. So when it comes to sort of honouring the traditions and the legacy of the Windrush and the way that we operate and the kind of atmosphere we want to create here in Jumbi, there's only so much you can impose, and it's really more about how people engage with it. And to be honest, when we opened, the idea was more akin to a sort of late night speakeasy shebeen type situation, where I thought that the missing link in the Peckham nightlife was a sort of late night hang spot where you could get food until late. But the way that people reacted to it was totally different, and it became very quickly this house party, you know? And we were aware of the, I guess, the history of blues parties, invited the whole neighbourhood round. So this was the sort of influence, but we didn't know exactly how it would unfold. And then when we opened the doors, people just kept coming in, and they'd come for dinner, and then they'd just kind of stay. So what we ended up doing was pulling the tables out every weekend, and it just kind of became a house party. So in a way, we accidentally sort of, I guess, recreated this blues party energy, but it really wasn't the plan. And there's something about having just one turntable that keeps a lid on it. You know, it's not DJs mixing all night and energy just building and building and building to crescendos and hands in the air, and there's no lights, there's no lasers. It really does feel like, you know, the good old days of just being in a house party with someone in control of an iPod, you know, or just with one turntable, just making do with what they can and creating this sort of buzz. And yeah, that's what happened, and I think it really does channel those early days that we have heard about through stories, you know? So for me, sound systems are a super important part of Carnival, and I guess I got into the sound system culture and this kind of notion of looking for a specific rig, having grown up in Leeds, and I used to go to a party called Subdub, run by Iration Steppers, and they actually have their sound system in Leeds Carnival. But when I moved to London, I was looking for similar kind of things and came across University of Dub, started to go see Abashanti, Channel 1, Jashaka, and for me, every year at Carnival, it's usually I generally try to go for 2 days. The first day I'll follow the floats around and see all the different, you know, processions, and the second day I'll basically beeline towards Abashanti. And it's quite hard for someone who has not been to explain what it means to go see one guy play on 3 stacks of speakers, but it's almost a sort of spiritual thing, the connection that the operators have to their own sound system. and you just feel it physically as well as spiritually in a way that you don't really get anywhere else. Well, I think the influence of sound system culture on the world is huge. I mean, it's quite hard to overstate that. I mean, hip hop was born out of Jamaican DJs in New York toasting over breaks. And I mean, this is like the dominant culture in the globe for the last 30, 40 years. So the influence is massive. And never mind all the subcultures that have spawned from that early scene of Jamaican MCs toasting over beats, which became hip hop, which gave birth to everything since then. So that's a very big question. That's a whole documentary. But specifically in the UK, I mean, I think the thing in the UK is that we've kept that kind of early scene alive and are very much in touch with it in a way that it's maybe been surpassed by other, I guess, movements and genres in the US, you know? So, yeah, I think that the fact that Carnival still happens every year and is basically the biggest gathering of people in this country, based on traditions that were born from the Windrush generation and are kept alive today, it's just a beautiful thing, you know. And no matter what kind of world you're working in within the music industry in the UK, everyone understands, I guess, the roots of this culture because it's still so prominent today, which I think is really impressive. Without sound system culture, there'd be no grime, there'd be no drill, there'd be no Stormzy, there'd be no Central C, like these huge, I guess, icons of like contemporary British music. It's born out of this culture. I think a lot of them are interested and a lot of them are very aware of that lineage, but in the same time, I think it's not necessarily a bad thing that they're not. And as much as I think it's really important to preserve the roots and to look back and to sort of celebrate these things, it's also really exciting to be looking forwards and to have people who are not so concerned about what happened in the past, but really looking at what we can do now with what we've got and where it's going. So yeah, that's a kind of a roundabout way to answer that question. But what I'm saying, to summarize, is that it's just as important to look forward as it is to look back. So I think the future is safe.